Hey officers, Shelly here. So today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. I say that in every intro, I think. But today we are going to be kind of doing like a Q&A kind of session for the books of Bugztopia, or like at least book 1, Bugztopia PD, The Attack on Ancient Hill. So if you have not read it, I would go check it out on all available platforms, but also if you're wanting just to listen to me read it, you can do that. I have a playlist on this channel, so you can go check it out. But yeah, so I've got like 10 questions here. These are questions that I have written down for like an AR test. So the only people that have this test are my local school, but you know, like when I plan on doing other school events, I would give them this AR test too. And you know, if kids are watching, it'll help them too. So who knows? But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, guys, so these questions that I'm going to be asking are not the exact question. I'm just going to do it in a roundabout way so you guys, like, if kids are watching this, they don't get the exact answer, you know? They get a little more detail and understand it more. But so the first one is, how would you describe Officer Renee? So Officer Renee is a monarch butterfly, meaning that she is black and orange. Something interesting about her is that she has a cricket antenna. She got this from an accident she had in as a child. I don't go into detail about this in the book, but in the omnibus, whenever that gets released, it has a little extra scene called the Cricket Pass, which goes into detail about how Officer Renee got her cricket antenna. So question number 2 is, what happens with Officer Renee and Officer Francis as they are trying to read the case file? So this happens in the beginning of the book. Officer Francis and Officer Renee are new partners, and they don't get along at all at the beginning. But they end up getting fighting a lot. Ends with like Officer Renee grabbing a piece of some papers and flying up to the ceiling, where then Officer Francis tries to hit her, and she is too high up, so he can't hit her. And then, well, they go back and forth with that for a little bit. And then Officer Francis goes to complain to Chief Jewel. And then Officer Renee comes back to the ground, and then they continue to fight until papers go everywhere and they land on their bottoms. So who are the new partners? So there are 2 sets of new partners. There's Officer Bug and Officer Ryan, who we don't get to know a lot about in this book. But whenever book 7 comes out, you will get to know more about Officer Bug and Officer Ryan. But Officer Renee and Officer Francis are another new pair of officers, which these ones are the ones that we are getting into. So how does Officer Francis and Officer Renee get their jobs back? So after, I don't even know what chapter, but at a certain point, Officer Francis and Officer Renee lose their job because they were being immature, because they weren't actually reading the case file, and they were just bickering, and Chief Jewel had enough of it, so she fired both of them. Well, whenever they were going home, they realized that they both lived at the same place. But Officer Renee, and as Officer Francis and Officer Renee were talking, they learned a lot about each other, learned how similar they were, and also they, it pretty much as, Officer Renee went to her room, into her apartment, and was like, I just can't let this sit. I have to do this for my family and stuff. So she convinces Officer Francis and herself, well, I guess she already knew what she was doing, but she convinced Officer Francis to come with her as they went to Chief Jewel's house to beg for their job back, in which Chief Jewel did give them their job backs. So where does Officer Francis and Officer Renee live? They live at a apartment building called Walnut Tree Apartment Building. It is run by Mr. Walking Stick. Just Mr. Walking, sorry, but he's a walking stick. But this apartment is basically a giant tree that has apartment buildings on the inside, because some of the buildings in Bugztopia and neighboring cities are actual structures, because Ancient Hill is representative of termite mound, and then there's a hive coming up in book 7, so there's just a lot of real structures, but there's also houses in it. but they live at Walnut Tree apartment building. Okay, how does Officer Francis help in the case of the break-in at ANC Hill? So I don't really go into much detail about this, but there's a line where Officer Francis says, like, oh, he's a secret, I don't know, like, weapon almost. And it's because he has a great memory. He has a photographic memory, which I don't think I go into any of the rest of the books, but he has a photographic memory, which really helps in the first book. So, another question is, who is Miss Orchid? So, Miss Orchid is an insect that we meet. Her last name is Mantis, so that is Officer Francis's mom. She was in the break. She was there during the break-in at ANC Hill. Yeah, but she's Officer Francis's mom. And another question is, what did Miss Orchid feel whenever she was in the break-in? She felt something that tickled her. She was downstairs getting, she was in the room, working on paperwork and stuff, and she remembered feeling something that kind of tickled her, kind of like antenna. So that kind of helped in, solving, like, the case. And then kind of the, big story is, who broke into ANC Hill and how did the story end? So the story ended with, sorry, I'm blanking. Okay, so who broke in was Mr. Sandy Fish. He is a guy who got paid by Mr. Ant to break into the building and destroy it. And then what happens at the end, Officer Francis and Officer Renee arrest Mr. Fish. They arrest Judge Doug. They arrest Mr. Ant. They arrest a lot of people, while also Officer Renee and Officer Francis continue to be partners. And yeah, it all combines to then Officer Francis and Officer Renee continuing on cases to try to convict Mr. Ant and Officer Doug of more crimes. I hope this is making sense to you guys, but those are the questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this little Q&A and stuff. Like I said, next week, so on the 5th, we are going to be starting the book readings for Bugztopia Book 2. So I can't wait to see you guys there, okay? Bye!